So in a previous video, I found this computer, it was thrown out in the trash, and we brought it home. And I wanted to see if I could get it working. We gave it a basic cleaning just to make sure that everything was safe, check for the whole spillage action, and we realized that the power supply was bad on it, popped in a new power supply, and we were good to go. Once we swapped out the power supply, booted it up, and we realized we had a Phantom X4. It's the 9550, clocked at 2.2 gigahertz, very slow, which was released back in 2007. This thing also has 4 gigs of DDR2 memory. Yep, not too good on that one. And it has a 560 Ti, which, yeah, that's not good either. So now for this video, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. And this is what I'm gonna do. These have those mechanical hard drive. This one's a 160 gig and this is a 500 gig. And I'm not gonna sit here and wait like 3,472 days for Windows to install. Not gonna happen. Not to mention it only has 4 gigs of DDR2 memory, which DDR2 in itself is just obsolete and definitely not ideal for the whole gaming situation or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop in a 500 gig solid state drive. We're going to install Windows 10 on it, and I actually found some memory for the whole EVGA. I believe it was the Xeon swap that I did. I had that motherboard and I was able to pop in the Xeon and do the whole mod and sanding it. I'll post a link to that video, but I still had 4 gigs of memory from that computer as I put that motherboard in retirement. So we're going to pop this in and give this 8 gigs of RAM, and hopefully that might help this thing better. Hopefully. Not to mention that when we boot it up, we found out that it keeps on resetting and the whole BIOS thing, you gotta do all your settings. So we're gonna give it a nice new battery. That would probably be the nicest, most fanciest. If I'm not mistaken, that's actually the newest thing on this computer is gonna be this battery over here. So we're gonna pop that in, install Windows, and get some games going and see how it goes. So let's get started. So now my memory is this NVIDIA SLI Ready. These are 2 gig sticks. They're just cool looking memory, and I'm glad I kept it lying around. I do keep DDR2 memory just lying around just for days like this. You just never know what you might have. So we're going to go ahead and pop this in. I know it's mismatched, but I think for a computer as old as this is, I don't think it really matters anymore, if I'm honest. All right, pretty nice. Now, because I'm eventually going to be repurposing this case, I need to take out these old hard drives over here. So let's pop these things out. Oh, they're nice and loose. That's nice. Then we got some screws in the back. Yep. Let's see if we slide these out. Let's unplug it just to make sure I don't break nothing. Alright, this thing has got some weird wires attached to it. We're going to unplug these because we'll probably never use them again. And then we can take out this hard drive, take out this hard drive, and just plop the SATA somewhere just for now. Alright, so let's take out this graphics card so I can get to that battery and change that out, because that whole BIOS thing is quite annoying. And I'd hate to have to reboot after installing Windows and all these drivers and constantly have to reconfigure my BIOS. Our battery's right there. Usually flick it up. These are so much easier than how they used to be. Battery gone. Our battery is a CR2032. Just pop that in right there. Bingo. While I'm here, like I said, we're going to do some cheating. 500 gig solid state drive. It's a Crucial one. It's pretty nice. And let's plug that in right there. Right over here. And we're just gonna leave that sitting right over there. Should be good. Now let's plug in our graphics card. I'm actually going to screw it down this time because, well, it's kind of moving a lot earlier. I hate for it to break. So let's see how this thing plays some games. Just to kind of recap, 560 Ti, 8 gigs of DDR2, and our Phenom 9550. I believe the CPU clock on that is 2.2 gigahertz on that one. And the first game that I want to try to see him play is Fortnite. So now I'm running Fortnite at 720p, all low settings, just to kind of see how it holds up. And let's see what we got. So our CPU is pegged out at 100% usage, and our GPU is pegged out at 41% usage. So yeah, which is pretty interesting considering that the CPU is showing to be the bottleneck, which makes me suggest that maybe a slightly better graphics card would complement this a little more and allow us to have a better experience on it. But overall, I mean, we're at 40, 55, 54, occasional drops to 20 frames per second, but we're able to get an average 30 frames per second, which makes this actually playable. Considering that this computer is about 15 years old, that's actually not too bad, and it's somewhat decent of an experience. So that's that one. Let's go ahead and let's move on to another game. For our next game, I went with Rocket League. I love me some Rocket League, and that's always a fun classic game to play. So now this one running at 1080p, high settings, and we're averaging solid 30 frames per second. I've been playing it, and I have no stutters, no crazy dips, and it's actually a really good experience and looks really good. Our CPU, 27%, 30%. Our GPU is around the same over here, so pretty decent. Now, considering that this only has 1 gig of VRAM, and well, this game is not that demanding, still decent enough for a 15-year-old computer. All right, here's another one, CSGO. So we're at 720p, low settings as always, because well, we only got 1 gig of VRAM and a very slow CPU, and we average about, honestly, 20 frames per second. Now, I'm not in a fight or anything right now, but when it gets into a high intense area, we get about 20 frames per second. Outside of that, I mean, we scrape around to 30 to 20 frames per second. Playable to say the least, and probably if I was to tweak more of the settings, we might be able to get a better gaming experience. So I'm going to go ahead and let's wrap this up. So gaming on a 15-year-old PC, well, it's to be expected as the age gives it. It's not the greatest experience, but it is an experience nonetheless. I mean, it's something that you can do and get your feet wet. Most of our games, we were able to average close to the 30 frames per second, of course, Rocket League being the champion, and I was very surprised on Fortnite, but that's just a weird game in itself. Now, one recommendation I do suggest for you guys, for anybody that's finding these old things, get yourself a solid state drive. If you're gonna sit here and try to finagle and deal with those IDE drives, well, this one didn't have IDEs, but it did have a mechanical drive. You're gonna be waiting forever just to install and loads, and it's gonna be even a more horrible experience than this could already be. So get yourself a solid state drive. 128 gigs are about $20. This is a 500 gig, which would be the way to go. And this one costs about typically 40, 50 bucks. It just depends on what sale is going on. So definitely you need to consider these if you're going to be messing with these old computers. And as far as the verdict, as far as most modern day gaming for these old computers, and particularly this one, the issue that you're going to run into with it is, number one, the lack of support for these older CPUs and the fact that they don't have the codes in them to play these newer games. So you are going to be limited to it. Don't expect to play Cyberpunk or Red Redemption 2 or something like that, because it just won't happen. I will say this about it. I was surprised with this little Phenom. It holds up pretty well, and once you get past the whole long Windows installation and everything, actually using it is pretty decent. I'm able to watch all my YouTube videos or even anything at 1080p settings, and I have no issues or lags like I did with some other older AMD products on it. So if you run into these, guys, save them, restore them, learn from them. They make for great servers, Minecraft servers. I mean, there's so many things that you can do for it. Or it makes a great computer for just some kid trying to learn how to program. I mean, this would be great, like for my daughter to learn how to install hardware or even play some of the classic games that you can't find anymore. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Phenom X4 Gaming. It's sort of there. So thanks for watching, and we'll see what we come up with next.